What's up, everybody? I am going back into the archives of previous interviews that I did to start looking for really good segments that I had, and this one really stuck out. This is actually with my boss, Mark Jeffrey, who has been in Phoenix radio for over 35 years and is absolutely my mentor since I've gotten into the radio business. Mark and I sat down for close to 2 hours just to talk about various things that were going on in the media, how rapidly things are changing in the overall media landscape from AM, FM, terrestrial radio over to podcasting and content creation. We talk about social media's impact on things and how it's really changed the game. And throughout the podcast and in this highlight, you will hear us talk about Joe Rogan, Gary Vee, Dave Portnoy, El Presidente of Barstool Sports, and what they did to create the brand that they have today. So sit back and relax and enjoy this highlight from my interview with Mark Jeffrey of Phoenix Traffic.
I've been able to be on a lot of shows, but when the ratings come out, I want the ratings to do well, but it isn't like a DJ who gets more of the glory and more of the money. But it isn't like them where they look at the ratings and go, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, cross your fingers, oh my gosh, right. Please, 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 please. That's their world, and I get it.
Yeah.
And now if you attach to it, not only is it ratings, how many hits do you get? How your website,
the downloads, yeah.
Wow, they've got a whole different. I'm kind of glad I don't live in that world, because for me I get the pressure of radio ratings because I grew up with it with my dad. But now DJs are many of them have to do at least 5 posts a day. You're expected to have so many followers or friends or whatever. They count all that, and so now you're a visual product as well, and so. You know, I won't name any names, but I know some pretty famous radio DJs all over the country that are a little bit older. Their biggest struggle is getting 5,000 likes or hearts or whatever it is on Instagram now. Even though the ratings are good, that's great. How are you on social media?
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's a whole nother thing. I'm a radio DJ. I'm a voice guy. People don't know what I look like. Now I have to come up with some sort of visual persona 5 times a day. It can't be the same material everybody else is using, so it's a pretty tough thing.
Obviously, with the change in the times and technology and social media, all that, do you think that's been to the detriment of everything, or for like the not so much like getting into like the podcasting, more so the social media aspect of it? Do you think that's helped radio or?
No, I know what you mean. It's I'll approach it 2 ways. If you're an older radio DJ who was the biggest, let's take Rick Dees. He was a giant DJ in LA and he was syndicated. Or let's go with Ryan Seacrest, okay? Ryan Seacrest was a morning guy on LA radio, playing music, interviewing famous people, blah, blah, blah. As social media happened, and Ryan Seacrest also does stuff for iHeart. He's syndicated by iHeart, yeah. So there's Ryan Seacrest at iHeart.com. So just like yourself, you guys are
that's
your coworker.
Listen, I like the email address. I say Colin Cowherd, Clay Travis, they got the same email address.
I know. And they will answer your email if you send it too. Because somebody from iHeart. But you take somebody like Ryan Seacrest or whatever. He's made the transition into the other medias. But there's other DJs that might have as big a ratings or whatever, but who are a little bit older. And let's face it, you've met a lot of radio people. Some of them weren't meant to be seen. They didn't get into the business. Otherwise, they would have done television.
Yeah.
Like myself.
The face for radio thing is just,
I have a face for radio. My dad was a good-looking guy. He did some movies when he was a kid in Hollywood, some bit parts, some things like that. Did some modeling, some other things, and he did radio and then got into television because he was a visual guy. Yeah. I wasn't. I liked the fact that when I got into radio, I was tall, skinny, not a pleasant-looking individual. My hair was longer. I wasn't meant for radio. But when I started to talk like this,
no one gave a damn what. No one gave a damn.
Hey, he sounds smooth, I get fan mail from 40-year-old ladies going, hey, they didn't know I'm a 21-year-old skinny, geeky guy.
Yeah.
But I was playing a role. Well, so one of the detriments is for some people who've been at it for a long time, it's left them out. You will see a lot of radio people have to do what I call the dancing bear act because now, you did your radio show from 6 to 10 in the morning. Now you're going to have to put together content the rest of the day to pump out. So that's great, but your hits need to go up.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, now I'm competing with 20-year-olds who can produce things on their phone in 5 minutes just because they're really good at it.
Yeah.
So social media is kind of rough for some of the older talent, but I like the idea that it's given everybody ability to get your content out, like you, and you have this podcast. You don't need a radio network. You don't need a signal from a radio station. Anybody in the world can hear this.
Yes.
And so I really like that idea because more ideas can come out.
Yeah.
You're not squished. Back when I was a kid, you know, you had the three big networks, ABC, CBS, NBC. And so for my dad, we moved around a bunch because if one station didn't like you, well, the other stations in the city probably wouldn't put you on because you were the competition. So we'd move.
Yeah.
And that's that. Now you don't have to move. You can do your show. You could be a sports commentator now with a camera on the corner, and who like Dan Patrick. He does his show. I used to live right near where he does his show from in Connecticut.
Yeah.
And he has this really cool studio, and he doesn't have to go anywhere.
No.
And I think that's awesome. He can do that now. He couldn't have done that 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But it also there's the problem is there's just so much competition for attention.
Yeah.
Which is hard because back when one of the things is you have hip hop stations that at night in the 90s, you'd go into the studio and there was a DJ in there from 7 to midnight and the phone lines are just blinking. There's 12 lines and they're just lit up, flashing. And they're 12-year-old girls wanting to hear whatever their favorite song is.
Yeah.
And then another girl will call her friend, calling from the same room because they're having a sleepover. And then they call again using a different voice, not known. But anyway, okay, now there's, I hate to say it, and I don't want to ruin the dream for anybody, but 7 to midnight, most radio stations are empty.
Yeah.
It's voice tracked. So you don't have a DJ interacting with somebody at home. Now, is that a bad thing? Well, those kids, the 12-year-old girl isn't sitting at home going, shh, 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 they're going to play my song. No, she plays her song when she wants to because she has it on iTunes.
Yeah.
Or she's going to watch it on YouTube because her favorite artist made the video that goes with it. And I was watching some videos last night, some world videos that have over 1 billion views. These are music videos with over 1 billion views. They don't need any radio.
No.
They don't. It used to be back in the day, these artists, you'd see them. They'd come to our radio station and hope that we'd play their music.
Yeah.
Here's a couple of our records back in the day, and then our CDs. And hey, we'll give you half the front row of my concert in exchange for you talking about us, and then we'll do a meet and greet and back, and we had this whole thing. Artists don't need radio stations anymore.
No.
That's why iHeart
They don't need
smartly
record
has gotten
labels.
They don't need record labels
Because you're getting paid from sponsors, you're getting paid from all that, and that's what I
there's
love,
good,
the freedom
bad
of all.
parts to all of it. But I also love the fact that you have a laptop and you don't have to have a lot of equipment, and so you don't need a big radio tower on South Mountain to get JP's thoughts out to the world.
Right. No, and that's something that I love about it is that obviously the creativity and that it's all my own content. It's that even though I'm not getting paid for it, I can do whatever I want for it. Where, say I'm in traffic for 2 more years. In the next 2 years, someone hears the show and boom, hey, we want to sponsor your show, and that's how it can, take off. So to me, a lot of people feel that podcasting, you have to be completely 100% devoted to it and make it your job. You don't need to. I'm doing this all in my spare time, hoping that it becomes something, but the creativity aspect of it is something that I love and something that someone like Joe Rogan and people like that have become so creative just from talking. You know what I mean? Yeah. How do you think podcasting, it's showing in the ratings and all that, but how do you think podcasting is going to affect radio within the next 10 years?
Well, when you say radio...
AM, FM.
Yeah, we'll say terrestrial radio.
Terrestrial, yeah.
Let's separate out AM, FM. AM, yeah, I've been on a lot of AM radio stations. Still am. It's just different than it was. Back in the day, my dad was on an AM station in Hartford, Connecticut, and he was number one. It was AM, and they played the Beatles. There are no AM number one stations anymore. The only ones that come close, or it's called the spoken word format, which covers news talk. Sports still does pretty well on AMs, just because when you hear some guy's voice, he's going, oh yeah, he's at the 30-yard line, he's at the 35, okay. That we're okay with it being on an AM signal. It doesn't need to, but when you're trying to listen to, the latest Taylor Swift, AM doesn't give you the right sound. So AM, let's just take those signals. I don't know where they're going. I wouldn't buy an AM radio station right now if it was for sale. FM radio, they're already transitioning into iHeart podcast every one of their FM properties.
Yeah.
Because they're getting ready for, do we really need the signal up on South Mountain? Because like my kids, they listen to radio shows that aren't even in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And they listen to it on demand because they missed it yesterday.
My dad listens to WFAN still back in New York.
You know, and you can't. So now they don't even need to listen to me. They used to have to listen to me, or they wouldn't have a lot of choices, you know. Even with traffic, dude. I mean, if you're caught in traffic, you used to have to wait for Mark or somebody to come on and tell you what's going on. We have an app. It's the Total Traffic app, which you can get, which all the traffic information you and I gather, JP, goes right into that
Literally
app.
every single bit of it.
Yes.
I tell everyone to download it.
Right. So there it is. You don't really need us to tell you, but we're there to tell you.
Yeah.
So traditional FM radio, yeah, I don't, because then there's advertising dollars. So I see some years left, not decades.
See, I think it's going to be, if terrestrial radio stays around, which obviously it will, I feel, is that it's mainly just going to be, they're going to start putting podcasts on it.
Yeah.
All the people, Rogan's going to contract with all these stations, and his podcast is going to play on this station. That's what I think is going to, end up happening.
Well, and I listen to Joe Rogan pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Different, and I don't mean in real time. I'll find an old like yesterday.
And that's the best thing about YouTube and podcasts.
I know. I watch a lot of YouTube.
Yeah.
I watch very little standard television.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody involved, because you and I are connected to the news, so I don't need you to tell me the news.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good. I can find it on my own, in other words. And so what am I going to turn on regular? Like diners, drive-ins, and dives. I like to watch that sometime.
Well, right now there's no sports either.
Yeah,
So it's
there's no sports, History Channel, some things like that. But I watch a ton of YouTube, and so, I watch Gary Vee. I watch a lot of podcasts. I like Joe Rogan just because of the format where he just keeps going. And then what I really like, and it's kind of a wonky thing about production, is then he carves out, or somebody for him.
does the Joe Rogan clips.
Yeah, those 7-minute things. So what you're doing here, and I'm not saying I'm an interesting guy, but what you can do with this show after is, first there's the whole show. Then there's the combination. You can cut up a bunch of chunks. Then you can, a year down the line or 3 days from now, going, I'm going to put together every show I did, each segment where I talked about the Yankees.
Yeah.
Because I talked about the Yankees with that guy and with that guy and that guy. And so now there's 10 people that I talked to the Yankees about. So there's another show. You didn't do anything new. You just reach back into your archives. So part of what people should consider with making podcasts is, what do I talk about? I don't know. Don't worry about it. Just go. Like you, I love the fact that you got the equipment. How do you make a podcast? I don't know.
Plug it in and hit record.
Yeah, you can YouTube it.
Yeah.
YouTube will teach you how to do everything.
And I use Anchor.
What program do you use to make it a podcast?
So I use...
To get it from what you and I are talking, and I get it, we're recording this.
So we were using Adobe, but we don't. But you have to pay for it. Like you have to pay like $400 or something. So basically, I've been just doing like simple edits on just this WavePad, because any other service you need to pay for. So like the blends and all that. Basically, I'm just chopping it.
So then you're chopping up all the audio the same way as you saw my band room next door.
It takes me 30 minutes. I'd say I save it, boom, I pull it back up, all this parts where
and then you load it to what program?
Load it up to Anchor.
Anchor.
So Anchor FM. I mean, it is so unbelievably simple to make a podcast on that platform. It's unbelievable. I started out on SoundCloud when we did Fox and Klein with John, and that was easy as well. You literally just need to upload it, boom, it's good. On Anchor, it lets you upload it. You can put in a sponsored segment by literally just click, boom, it puts in a sponsored segment for you. And so you have an intro. So what I do is I'll record like a 30-second or a minute intro to you and me. Take that audio, upload it, boom, and then upload our regular audio. And then it compresses it all itself. Boom, your audio file is ready. Do you want to save it as a draft, or do you want to publish it now? It's literally boom.
And see, you're even on the iHeart app, aren't you?
Uh-huh.
See?
Yeah.
So there you go. You work for iHeart, and you're on the iHeart app,
and Apple and Spotify and all that.
And then you can have your own marketing agency.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of different ways, and this is for people that are listening, because it's like, I don't know what to talk about, but I love the technical. Well, don't
just talk. Just shoot.
How about you tell people how to make a podcast? You don't even have to be good at it. You go, I don't know what I'm going to say, but maybe you're good at computers.
Yeah.
Maybe you're good at audio. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just do it and make some content.
Well, it's content, and especially these days, not even just with podcasts. Content is what people are making money on. It's like not just Instagram models and these Instagram, workout people and all that. There's content in everything. So, like, for example, my future sister-in-law, Angela, has an awesome Instagram account of books. where she takes pictures of books and just beautiful settings around the book because she's a huge bookworm, and she writes things about the books. And
You mean just regular books?
she reads books. She's a huge book show. Every time you see her, she has a book. So she'll
Gotcha.
read the book and then take a picture of it with like a beautiful setting around it and kind of like just show off the book. So
And then tell what the story's about? sort of
ish.
thing?
So Dana went to her and was like, "Hey, like, start pumping up that Instagram. Start making make it a book advertising thing. Start pumping out those. Hey, if you like this book, refer them to this book. If you're gonna make $10 on it, it's content. You're making content with hundreds of posts on Instagram. Monetize that somehow. Monetize that. And that's what I think people kind of get twisted on it. I need to have a job to have a podcast. I need to have a job to make content. No, you don't. You could be unemployed and get very rich. Joe Rogan started out as just a nothing.
Yeah.
They started out, and when everyone says like, "Hey man, this thing's become an empire," he goes, "It happened on accident.
Yeah.
It just happened." And imagine someone like that who was already successful, who had no idea what he was doing with it. There was no such thing as a pod. It was just Adam Carolla as the podcast person, and it just happened. And that's the way I look at it, is that there's so much opportunity in that, because I know what I have to offer, but my personality and all that and all the things I like, being interested in, having the podcast gives you that freedom of doing that. Now, if I was on, say, KTAR, can't say certain things.
That's right.
Or this station can't say certain things, which is perfectly fine. That's radio. But the freedom of being able to just be yourself and make money how you want to make money. And it's on your terms.
Right.
And that's the way I like it. Because if you stop and want it to come to you, then it's not going to happen. You got to go out and get it. People go, how did you get the interview with, Larry, how did you get the interview with Anthony Scaramouche? I hit him up. Yeah. I shot him up. Either they're going to answer or not answer.
Well, you brought up social media. That's the other thing, is
it gives us
given us access
a ton of access.
Because pretty much everybody has an app thing, and 20
20
years ago there is no way you can get a hold of certain celebrities. There's just no way. You'd have to, and I know that because being a radio guy, where I'd be on radio shows and we'd have celebrities come in, it all had to be set up. It all had to be their producer or their marketing agent would say, "Hey, so and so." Like, I remember when George Carlin came to the building years ago when he was still alive. It's because his marketing. He was doing a concert that night, and so he came by and did a couple of morning shows. I mean, there used to always be celebrities coming through, and they were hard to get a hold of. And some of the most valuable people in radio were morning show producers who had a really thick black book, because they could literally get a hold of anybody. They had secret phone numbers, and they can get movie stars and records, anybody at the drop of a hat. Nowadays, everybody's got an Instagram account, and so you can DM them.
It really is
easy. Direct message them.
It's very easy, and when people
so there's no barriers, dude.
No, they're really, and that's the reason that it can be not even just so lucrative. That's why it can be just so successful.
But you also have to realize there's a lot of content out there. So how are you going to stand out?
And how are you going to make it unique to you?
You're going to have to make sure if you learn how to do this, you're going to have to do keywords and things like that.
On like key segments, and like this is going to be the, because how do people decipher between, this podcast and this podcast? Okay, I like part of my take on Barstool because they do all of their different segments.
Every day I watch Barstools. I call him Pizza Boy.
Portnoy.
I watch him do his pizza reviews.
Al Presidente.
Yeah, I watch him do his pizza reviews. He's a great example. If you haven't seen him,
go getter.
Yeah, I would say, now you can watch his Barstool Sports, but I would say watch the pizza reviews. Why? Because they're only 5 minutes long. And also, you're seeing a guy who gets millions of hits, who's just a dude.
Just eating pizza.
He's just a dude.
Yep.
Where you could say, "Oh, I can't because I'm not." It's like, no. He'd be the first, Dave Portnoy. He'd be the first one to tell you. It's like, "Hey, everybody, pizza review time." And he sits there, he goes to a pizza place, buys a pizza, eats it, and he goes, it's 7.2.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's become huge. He has sponsors.
When it started, Dana and I would watch him every day. I mean, it was because they were all in, like, he was going to Jersey, he was going to New York. I knew all that, I know that place.
Then he did the frozen pizzas.
Yes. Because everyone's at home.
And then
so we went
people were sending him stuff.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching.
You see his apartment? You see his apartment when
and
he
my
just
wife
had
and I
boxes?
are waiting for him to cut his arm off.
And he does. He almost does.
I know. Because he would use these giant samurai swords or whatever.
Yeah.
to cut the pizza.
You saw someone
or to cut into boxes.
You saw someone sent him something to cut. They sent him a box cutter because he cut his finger the one time.
And it's like, so we're watching him. It's like he's going to cut himself this time. So he ended up getting a podcast for a show because people started sending him stuff. Then it got out of hand where he had to have it sent to the offices of Barstool Sports, and he would go there to do it. And now he's in Miami or whatever. But anyway, Dave Portnoy, the Barstool, you can watch the sports thing, and there's a bunch of guys. But I like the pizza thing because it's an example of, look, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
He just picked them. He does pizza reviews, and you think...
It sounds silly,
If I pitch you an idea, I got this great idea for a podcast, I'm going to go around and review pizzas. They'll go, yeah, that's neat. Everybody eats pizza, but why are they going to care you're doing it?
No, but it's like, do a 5-minute video on why you like it. Show yourself eating it. What's the reason?
Celebrity. Julian Edelman from the Patriots.
He's had a ton of people.
I know.
Well, we used to watch him because we started with the saying of the one bite, everybody knows the rules.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Dana's Italian, we eat pizza nonstop.
By the way, which he turned into an app.
Yeah,
One Bite app. That's
literally what I was getting to. So it's like we started watching it way back, and when it wasn't profit, it was just something Dave Portnoy did. I mean, Dana went to school up in Rhode Island, so she's very familiar with Barstool. She's been to Barstool parties before it was Barstool. So El Presidente is like a thing in our house. So, and then the one day we literally opened up like the thing, and I'm like, Portnoy made an app for his One Bite, and it's all the ratings of the plate, and I'm like, and that's a perfect example of, hey, there's content everywhere. You like eating pizza, review it, make something out of it.
And he started with just as a kid talking about sports, and all the rest of this just kind of grew out of that.
And he started it with just a paper, just a regular newspaper of just shooting the crap about
and I give him credit because
I mean, it's an empire now.
Here's something that's hard to do, and everybody. Not everybody, but a lot of people who do a podcast have to make the decision. Am I going to worry about offending people or having them not like me? And you can tell Dave Portnoy made a decision early on. Oh, well.
Yep.
Hey, if the Bruins suck tonight, I'm going to say so.
Yep.
And, okay, might be a little uncomfortable. My dad was a sportscaster. He learned that, too. It's like,
yeah.
I'm going to call it like it is. If we got a crappy team, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to BS you and tell you they're good.
Yeah.
So Dave Portnoy, whether it's pizza or sports or a person or whatever, he just says it. And so there's I believe one of the commonalities with him and Joe Rogan and Gary Vaynerchuk, another guy you ought to check out if you haven't. I know you have, but for the folks listening, is they're genuine.
Yeah.
They are what they are.
And that's my favorite thing is that they just keep it real. They tell you how it is.
You know they get hate mail, and oh well.
And that's the way, for me, with over the last few years, I've gotten to a point of not caring, but just, I'm going to tell you how I feel because that's how I feel. If you don't like it, then I'm not worrying about you. That's a you thing. And once you start kind of like disconnecting it, hey man, if someone's in your reply section on Twitter just giving you crap, you don't need to engage. You know, you don't need to say what you feel. And the less lies you tell, the less BS you tell, the less you got to keep up with.
And we haven't gotten into politics, but I'll say this one thing about the man who's currently in the White House. An absolute master at doesn't care if you don't like him.
Yeah.
Because all the interaction that if you're just a nice person, you say, hey, this is nice and that's nice, you won't get elected.
No.
You have to cause a stir. You have to have, there's always the bigger you are, the more haters there are, and you just want them to spell your name right. And that goes back a long way. There's, you can look at guys like Barry Bonds even. It's like, you think he cared while he's getting his millions that some people didn't like him? Whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
No.
So you have to, but I get how some folks don't want to live that life where they want to play it more in the middle, or if you're a TV anchor and you work for a big company, you can speak your mind, but you might lose your gig.
Yeah.
There's one local sports guy here who I've been talking to, a former TV sports anchor, and I know the story. He got fired from the local sports station here because he made a political comment online. I thought it was pretty innocuous. It was more of a statement of fact. But anyway, a bunch of people complained to the TV station. TV station was spineless and just cut him.
Why do you think so many media companies fall into that? Because to me, like the Kings play-by-play analyst just lost his job for replying to someone that all lives matter. Whether you believe either way or not, that is just ridiculous for someone to lose their job for just saying that for just saying that comment.
Yep.
It is unbelievable. So why do you think corporations and teams and all, is it just the fear of, the wokeness? Is it fear of the black,
Well,
the
I think it's a couple things. Number one,
because we've seen all these, hashtag boycott this because so and so said, Laura Ingraham said this, hashtag Fox, boycott Fox. It's like, stop it,
Well, and remember, both sides will use that. It's like, oh my God, can you believe so and so said this? Because
Right.
they want clicks. So remember, always look at everything you see and hear as they're trying to get you to click on their thing, even though you might agree with the statement.
Yeah.
Can you believe this person said this? And they want you to click on their YouTube story. So everybody's competing for your attention. You might agree with one side or the other. So there's that. Backing up to the Kings broadcaster who lost his job, and then Bonneville fired him from his radio job too.
Wow.
Not only did he lose his Kings job, he had a sports talk show for Bonneville Incorporated.
Wow, so he lost all.
He lost everything, and he'd been doing it since '88.
Yeah.
I think it's a travesty.
30 years. That's
Now, part of the problem was you had a certain group of people who put pressure on an owner that if they didn't, they had a product that might not happen because the product involved people who would go, we're just not playing. So you had that. So do I really think the Kings ownership was, oh my God, he said that? No, I don't think that at all.
Not one bit.
Not one bit. Now, do I really think they cared? No. Also, I believe what you're seeing is a lot of people placating. I've watched so many commercials between COVID and the race riots where it's like, I see the marketing. I'm going, okay, let's show our product. No, wait, slow down the footage. Hey, get me some slow, sad piano.
No, and cut that. Cut the first 2-3 seconds off.
Yeah. Hey, make sure. Can we get a nurse with a mask or something kneeling? No, a black nurse with a mask. Let's get her kneeling because we're doing. And I won't even name any products, but so our product could be that because we care, because we're there for you. When you're on the front lines or we should all be together. They do not care at all. They're using the moment for marketing.
Yeah.
So I try to back up from the whole thing and realize as everything I see, why am I being presented with that? And most of the time it's an attention thing because on both sides they just want your attention.
Yeah. And like a perfect example of that to me, I mean, we've seen it nonstop with the media. I mean, on both sides, editing this or cutting out this for context. And the other day, it really bothered me that so many people lost their minds when Trump was out there touting the job numbers. I mean, that was a great day. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on, but that was a great day. Millions of people got their jobs back or went back to work.
Yeah. And the stock market went crazy.
Stock market went nuts.
Which shows you, before you go on, JP, people were listening.
Yep.
Lots of people were listening to that jobs report and knew it in advance. That's why it went up a little bit the day before.
It went up 500, 400, dipped back down, what, 12? Or went up?
So there are people that go, nobody cares that. It's like, yeah, they did. The people that are saying nobody cares also want hits. I watch all the networks, but Fox and CNN have a commonality that they both point fingers and they're saying, can you believe they did this?
Yes.
And can you believe they did
they
that?
Both, and that's
at the top. Do they really care? Well, they need hits. One of the things that I have a problem with the social media is that your job is to get hits. So if you're a writer, you're going to have to write a story and a headline that'll get hits. If you say, hey, there's a new park opening in Chandler today. Sorry, nobody's going to care. Okay.
Yeah.
But if you can show a picture that the new park was tagged last night because of the riots, all of a sudden people are pissed off.
Yep.
And then on one side they're going, that's fine. They're just speaking their mind. The other side's pissed off. They're going, the taxpayers paid for this. Anyway, so there's your story. The real story was the park opened and it's neat and it's good for kids. But nobody cares because we don't care about good news.
Everyone wants to look at the train wreck and the car crash.
So, and then we're traffic reporters, dude, and that's what we talk about. And I've been talking about people dying in auto crashes for a long time, since before most of the people listening.
I made that point out to someone, and I got chewed out. I mean, I don't care, but I was just like, hey, this many people die in.
Yeah, and you don't care.
No.
Hey, you know what? We had last week, a couple people died in an accident at 7th Street and Bell Road. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to the show. Those same people who went, hey, let's get back to the show. They didn't stop to consider the families that died. But one gentleman died. You can be upset with that if you want. Be upset for the others.
Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share the show with your friends. Really helps spread the word on everything. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on any of your podcast platforms. Drop the show a 5-star rating and leave a review if you'd like. Again, share the show with your friends. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Rate, review, tell your friends, tell your family, and I look forward to catching you back here on the next episode of The Fox Experience.